But he's so boring, she said, followed by the kind of laughter you only make when you forget your mic is still on. I paused the stream, rewound, played it again. So boring. Laughter. My wife. In a bathroom stall, whispering to someone, probably into a friend's phone, not knowing the Bluetooth mic clipped to her bag was still connected to her work Zoom call. And I was still logged in, sitting at home, listening. The bathroom door swung open in the background. You could hear music pumping from the bar. I could hear glasses clinking, girls laughing, one of them yelling shots, like it was a battle cry. Then, silence. I stared at the paused frame. Just the company logo. No faces. No names. Just that one sentence burning a hole in my brain. It wasn't the first time I felt it, that thing in my gut that whispers, "You're the joke." But this time, it was recorded. I didn't even move. Not at first. I just sat there, letting the cursor blink on the screen like it was daring me to do something about it. I looked around our place. Her stupid throw pillows that say "Live, Laugh, Love" in sparkly gold font. Her $400 candle that smells like regret and eucalyptus. And on the counter, her keys. Which meant she didn't drive. Which meant someone else did. My stomach turned. I checked the time. 11:47 p.m. She told me she'd be home by 10. Just dinner with coworkers, she said. Team bonding. Right. Bonding. I didn't even ask where. I didn't want to sound like that guy again. The needy one. The clingy one. The one she rolls her eyes about in group chats with emojis. You know what I did instead? I cooked her lasagna. Homemade. From scratch. Sauce, cheese layers, all of it. I even set the table, candles and everything, like some desperate movie character still holding onto the plot long after the audience gave up. She never texted. I ate alone. And that's when the mic turned on. That's when I found out. And the worst part? I didn't even get mad. Not yet. I just listened. Like an idiot. Because some men explode. Some men scream. But me? I wait. I watch. And when it's time, I leave so quietly they don't even notice I'm gone. But she noticed. Eventually. And when she did, it was already too late. I didn't sleep that night. I just sat in the chair by the window, lights off, the cold plate of lasagna untouched in front of me. Every few minutes, I'd check the hallway through the peephole, like some paranoid freak waiting for his wife to come home from war. But this wasn't a war. It was worse. At least in a war, you know who the enemy is. At 1:12 a.m., the lock clicked. She came in giggling under her breath, trying not to wake me. Or maybe she hoped I was already asleep, so she wouldn't have to look me in the eye. Her heels dangled from one hand. Her makeup was smudged just enough to suggest she didn't fix it before she left wherever she was. Her hair smelled like men's cologne, the kind that's too sharp, like someone tried too hard. She froze when she saw me. Sitting. Awake. Oh, she said, like she'd walked into the wrong apartment. I didn't answer. Just tilted my head at the lasagna still sitting on the table, untouched and cold. The wax of the candles melted down to stubs. You waited up? She asked, soft and vaguely guilty, the way someone asks after forgetting a birthday. I nodded once. That's all I had in me. Then she did something that will never leave me. She smiled. Not a full smile, just a twitch in the corner of her mouth, like she was holding back a laugh. What? I said, my voice cracking. It's just, Donnie, you made lasagna? She laughed. Full on. Covered her mouth, but couldn't stop it. I think something broke in me right then. Something old and pathetic and already hanging by a thread. I heard you, I said. That stopped her cold. On the Zoom, I continued, standing up. In the bathroom. You forgot your mic was on. Her mouth opened, a lie forming like a reflex. But then she closed it again, staring at me like she didn't recognize who I was anymore. She tried to play it off. It wasn't like that. I nodded. No, of course not. Donnie. I raised a hand. Don't. Please. Don't do the thing where you explain how I misunderstood my own ears. Don't insult me like that. She stood there, frozen in the entryway, unsure whether to drop her heels, hug me, cry, or run. She chose none. She just stood there, still, like a mannequin draped in perfume and bad choices. I walked past her, picked up my coat, my keys, didn't pack a bag, didn't say anything else. As I reached the door, I heard her whisper behind me, barely audible. So that's it. I paused, turned slightly, and said the only thing I could say. No, that was it. This is after. And I left. No door slam. No final look. Just the soft click of a door that no longer belonged to me. But the story wasn't over. Because 3 days later, she came looking for me. And that's when the real unraveling began. I hadn't spoken to anyone since I left. Not her. Not my brother. Not even my boss, who texted twice and then stopped, probably assuming I finally snapped. I didn't snap, though. I just disappeared in the quietest way I knew how. I drove 3 hours south to a town with one gas station, one diner, and a motel that smelled like damp carpet and lost hope. Room 14. Broken lock on the window. Carpet burn on the corner of the bed. A TV remote that only worked if you smacked it twice. It was perfect. I needed nowhere to be. No one to expect me. And for the first time in years, that felt like a gift. I spent the first day walking. Not for clarity. I wasn't some poetic soul in a movie montage. I just didn't know what else to do with my legs. The second day, I stared at the ceiling so long I started memorizing the cracks. One looked like a bird. Another like a question mark. I think that one bothered me the most. Then came day 3. I was halfway through a half-warm cup of diner coffee when I saw her. Emery. She was outside, talking to the manager, holding her phone in one hand, waving the other like her words would carry more weight if her wrist moved faster. Her hair was tied back, not like she usually wore it, and her eyes were red, like she hadn't slept. Or maybe she had, just not peacefully. I watched from behind the blinds, heart pounding like a traitor. I didn't want her to see me, but I also didn't move. She was walking toward my room before I could even react. Like she knew where I'd be. Like she could smell the guilt and ash that clung to room 14. The knock was soft. Too soft. Like she was scared of the answer. Donnie. Her voice barely reached through the door. I didn't answer. She knocked again. Donnie, I know you're in there. Please, just let me talk. Another silence. Then, I shouldn't have laughed. I flinched. She kept going. You're right, okay? About everything. I messed up. But I didn't. I didn't cheat. Not really. I was lonely. You were always so quiet. Always so gone. Even when you were home, it felt like you weren't. I didn't mean to say those things, Donnie. It was stupid. Just girl talk. Just dumb bar talk. Girl talk. Dumb bar talk. I thought of the lasagna. The candles. The perfume that wasn't hers. The smirk. I unlocked the door. She stepped back like she didn't expect it to open. She looked at me like I was thinner. Grayer. Like grief had shaved something off me that wasn't coming back. She opened her mouth, but I raised my hand. You didn't cheat? I asked quietly. She shook her head. No, I swear. Then who's Rook? Her face froze. The blood drained from her cheeks. Her lips parted, but no words came out. And just like that, I had my answer. She didn't need to speak. But I wasn't finished. Not even close. She didn't even say his name. Didn't try to deny it. Didn't pretend it was someone from work or a misread contact. She just stood there with that pale face and twitching fingers, the silence louder than anything she could have said. I leaned against the doorframe, arms crossed, like I wasn't unraveling from the inside out. Was he worth it? I asked, my voice calm in a way that scared even me. Her mouth opened, then closed. She looked down. I never meant for it to go anywhere. He just listened. That was the knife. Not the cheating. Not the secrecy. Not even the bathroom recording. He listened. I'd listened to every version of her for the last 6 years. The angry version. The bored version. The sobbing in the bathroom version. The one who thought her job was beneath her. The one who thought I was, too. I listened when she hated herself. When she hated me. When she said nothing at all. And now this guy. This stranger with a ridiculous name. He listened. And that made it okay? Was it physical? I asked, barely above a whisper. No, she said too fast. I raised an eyebrow. Not at first. There it was. I felt something shift in me. Not rage. Not heartbreak. Just this quiet, dry snapping sound in my chest, like an old rope finally giving way. I looked at her face. Not the one from our wedding photos or our vacation in Portland. Not the girl who danced in our kitchen at 2 a.m. to Prince. But this version. The one who got good at lying and bad at noticing. I didn't sleep with him again after that night, she added quickly. I swear. I ended it. It was one time. That night you made lasagna. She thought the lasagna was the problem. Like the timeline mattered. Like it being once made it better. And still, I didn't shout. Didn't call her names. I just stared. She reached for me. Donnie, please. I made a mistake. I was selfish. I was stupid. But I love you. Love. The most misused word in the English language. Right up there with forever and trust me. I came here to fix it, she whispered, stepping closer. I don't want to lose us. That's when I did something I didn't plan. I let her in. I stepped aside and let her walk into that musty motel room, that ugly little tomb of our marriage. She looked around like she couldn't believe I'd been surviving there, as if the beige wallpaper and rusted sink were beneath her. She sat on the bed, carefully, like she didn't want to wrinkle her blouse. I noticed she still wore the earrings I gave her 3 anniversaries ago. Funny how betrayal wears your gifts when it wants forgiveness. Why did you come? I asked finally, sitting in the chair across from her. She hesitated. Because I thought maybe you'd still be the man who waits. And that's when it hit me. She wasn't here to confess. She was here to reset, to rewind, to find the version of me that would take her back without asking too many questions. I leaned forward, elbows on my knees. You think I'm still that guy? She nodded, slowly. I smiled, not with joy, but with something colder. Then you really didn't know me at all. Because the man who waits doesn't wait forever. She stayed the night. She asked if I wanted her to leave. I didn't answer. She took that as permission. She slipped under the motel's stiff white sheets like she was crawling back into a home that hadn't just collapsed. She didn't ask where I'd slept the past few nights. She didn't ask what I'd eaten, or if I'd cried, or if I'd thought about putting my car into a tree on the way down here. She just laid there, curling into my pillow like it still belonged to her, and said, I'll make things right. I didn't sleep. I sat in the corner chair, watching the shadows on the ceiling move with each flicker of the neon sign outside. Color TV and free Wi-Fi, it promised. Lies, like everything else. Around 2:30 a.m., she murmured something in her sleep. I leaned in, barely breathing. Rook. My stomach flipped. My nails dug into the chair arm. She wasn't dreaming about me. She was dreaming about him. The next morning, she woke up early. Made coffee in the little pot next to the microwave. Poured 2 cups like we were a normal couple on a weekend getaway. We should go home, she said, handing me one. I'll call out of work. We'll just start over. Start over. What a beautiful fantasy for people who never broke anything real. I'm not ready, I told her, my voice like gravel. She nodded, trying to look understanding. But I could see the flicker of impatience under her smile. The way her foot tapped too fast. She thought she'd done enough. Tracked me down, cried a little, said the right things. She had no idea how deep I'd sunk, how far I'd followed the trail she didn't mean to leave behind. Because while she slept, I went through her phone. She was careful. Deleted messages. Cleared call logs. Erased emails. But she missed one thing. A photo. Just one. Hidden deep in a notes folder she must have thought was private. It wasn't dirty. Nothing explicit. Just a picture of her and Rook. At a booth. At a bar. Smiling. Leaning close. His hand on her thigh. The same night she told me she was working late. The same night I made lasagna. I stared at it for a long time. The image didn't make me angry. It made me clear. There was something sharp in the clarity, something almost refreshing. The man who waits was gone. The man who wonders, dead. Now there was only this version of me. The one who planned. Because if she wanted a reset, I was going to give her one. But not the kind she expected. Not the kind she could come back from. And it started that very morning, with just 5 words. Let's go home, I said. We drove back in silence, both pretending to be people we no longer were. She rested her hand on the console, brushing against mine a few times like she was testing the water, seeing if the old warmth would spark again. It didn't. I kept my eyes on the road, windshield smeared with bugs and dust, the radio off, the air thick with every word we weren't saying. Her perfume was different now, softer, almost apologetic, like she'd switched brands on the drive down, hoping I'd notice and assign meaning to it. I didn't. I just kept driving, mile by mile, back toward the place where everything had come undone. When we pulled into our building's parking lot, she exhaled like she'd just crossed a finish line. I watched her face as she stared up at our apartment windows. She was already rewriting the narrative, telling herself this was the beginning of the healing, the hard part, now behind us. We took the elevator up. She used her key. Everything looked exactly how I left it. Except one thing. On the table, where my cold lasagna had once sat untouched, was a single envelope. She didn't notice it at first. She was too busy tidying the cushions on the couch, fluffing them like that would erase the betrayal still baked into every inch of the room. I watched her from the kitchen, sipping water. She smiled at me over her shoulder. Then her eyes fell on it. The envelope. She walked over, picked it up, turned it around slowly in her fingers like she could feel the weight of what it meant before even opening it. "What's this?" "Read it," I said. She opened it, pulled out 2 photos. One of her with Rook at the bar, the same one I found in her notes folder. And one I'd taken myself. That one was of her car, parked outside Rook's apartment. Timestamped. 2:43 a.m. 3 weeks ago. She stared at the pictures for a long time. I said nothing. She didn't cry. Not this time. She didn't deny it either. She just placed the photos on the table, slowly, deliberately, then sat down. "Why now?" she asked. Her voice was low, hollow. "Because I wanted you to feel safe again," I said. "I wanted you to believe we were okay." "That's cruel," she whispered. "No," I corrected. "Cruel was you laughing about me in a bathroom stall. Cruel was you leaving me alone in this apartment while you wrapped yourself in someone else's attention. This is just honesty." She looked up, and for the first time, I saw it, fear. Not because I hit her. I never would. Not because I yelled. I never needed to. But because she realized I was no longer the man she could manipulate with tears and whispered apologies. "I'm sorry," she said. "I mean it. Donnie, I was stupid. I hated myself. I thought you didn't want me anymore. I didn't think you'd care." That last line slipped out too fast. I didn't think you'd care. I almost smiled. Because that was the moment she realized what she'd actually lost. Not just a husband. Not just the comfort of a man who waited. She lost control of the story. And that, to someone like her, was unforgivable. But I wasn't finished. Not yet. Because I hadn't told her about the 3rd photo. The one she hadn't seen. The one that would shatter the last thing she thought she still had. She sat there for a long time, hunched over the table like the photos had weight. Like they were pressing her down, pinning her to that chair. The silence between us had a pulse. I could hear her breathing shift, could see the shallow panic creeping into her ribs. Fast, restrained, not quite gasping but close. She was calculating. I could see it. Calculating how to spin this, how to package her guilt into something I could pity. She was good at that, making her shame look like sadness, making herself the victim of her own decisions. I let her think. I poured myself another glass of water, sat across from her, watched her stare at her own face in those pictures like it belonged to someone else. She traced the edge of the bar photo with her nail, then stopped. Slowly, she looked up. "Is there more?" she asked. Her voice wasn't curious. It was exhausted, wounded. I didn't answer. I pulled out my phone, swiped, turned the screen to her. The 3rd photo. It was blurry, but clear enough. A street shot. Early morning light. Her car again. But this time, a second figure was visible in the background. A man, not Rook, standing at a corner, facing away, dressed in a suit, briefcase in one hand. He was watching, staring at the building. Not at her. At me. She squinted, confused. "Who is that?" "That," I said quietly, "is your boss." Her mouth opened. No sound. She blinked like her brain couldn't process the angle fast enough. "What are you talking about?" "I saw him," I said. "Twice, actually. First time was the night I followed you to Rook's place. I didn't say anything. Thought maybe I was seeing things. But the second time, 2 days later, he was outside this building. Watching. He didn't notice me, but I noticed him. Same suit. Same briefcase." She looked like she was going to vomit. "You think I?" "No. Donnie, no. That's not. He's married. That's insane." "You're right," I said calmly. "It is insane. So I called him." Her face went white. I asked him why he was outside our place. Why he was near Rook's apartment. You know what he said? She shook her head slowly, her hands trembling now. "He said he was worried about you. That you'd been acting strange. That he thought you might be in some kind of trouble. And then he asked me, very carefully, if I knew where you'd been staying last week. Because apparently, you called in sick, the same days you were in that motel with me." Her lips parted. "I didn't. Donnie, I didn't tell him anything. I swear." I nodded. "I believe you." She looked relieved. "But that's not the point," I continued. "The point is, if I could find this much without even trying, imagine what I could find if I really wanted to." And there it was again. That flicker of fear. She thought the worst was behind her. She thought her only mistake was Rook. She thought I was a broken man clinging to the scraps of our marriage. She didn't realize I was something far more dangerous. A man who finally understood the power of silence. I stood up. She didn't move. You should sleep on the couch tonight, I said. I need space. Her mouth moved, like she wanted to protest. But she didn't. She just nodded. Slowly, like someone tiptoeing around a sleeping animal they're not sure is still tame. And as I walked to the bedroom, I heard her collapse onto the cushions, not crying, not begging, just quiet. Too quiet. But that's what I wanted. Because tomorrow, she was going to find the letter. And then everything she'd tried to hold together, was going to fall apart. She found it in the morning. Folded, neat, waiting on the kitchen counter like a final warning or a farewell. Her footsteps were soft as she approached it, the kind of softness you only use when you're afraid something might explode if you move too fast. I watched from the hallway, unseen, like a ghost who hadn't yet decided whether to haunt or forgive. She opened the letter with the careful hands of someone expecting destruction. And in a way, that's what she got, just not the kind she imagined. It wasn't a divorce notice. It wasn't a threat. It wasn't a list of every lie she'd told or every night she'd left me alone. It was a memory, written in my handwriting. A story, the first time we met. The first joke she ever told me. The rainy day she taught me how to dance in socks on our kitchen floor. The weekend we stayed up until 3 a.m. watching documentaries we never finished. The night she told me I made her feel safe, safer than anyone ever had. Each memory on its own page. Each one written without bitterness. Each one ending with the same final line. This is what I'm choosing to remember. She read all 10 pages, sat down at the kitchen table, and just stared at them, tears dripping onto the wood, not making a sound. Not because she didn't hurt, but because she finally understood. This wasn't punishment. This was goodbye. I walked into the room. She looked up, eyes swollen, hands trembling, the letter pressed to her chest like it might vanish if she let go. You're leaving? She asked, voice cracking. I already did, I said gently. I just needed you to catch up. She reached for me, but this time not with desperation. With something softer. Grief. Respect, maybe. The kind of gesture that says, I finally see the damage I caused. The kind of touch that admits, you didn't deserve any of it. I took her hand, not to stay, but to thank her, for what we had, for what we ruined, for what we survived anyway. Because the truth is, I didn't want revenge. I didn't want to win. I just wanted peace. And maybe, just a little bit of myself back. I'm going to stay with my brother for a while, I told her. I need time. You probably do too. She nodded. Not like before, not like someone trying to agree so the fight ends faster. This time, she nodded like someone who finally understood she was never coming back to the version of me she broke. And that was okay. We hugged once. Brief, human, real. Then I left. No slammed door. No broken things. No dramatic exits. Just a man walking out into the morning light, a suitcase in one hand. And, for the first time in years, absolutely nothing weighing down the other.